on. So what I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Deborah. I want to say thank you to Green Market Report for bringing us all together. This is exactly what we're talking about when we talk about women in business. There was a line up here today. I didn't even have to be in the room. I read who was speaking. I saw the topics. You were hitting marketing, capital, access to capital, what are the impact of media, pitfalls of the legal market, branding. These are all of the things that it's really all about the business. We really are here to make sure that women, female-led businesses are going to be successful and that they will be an integral part in New York State's cannabis market. So I just want to say this is exactly what that's all about right here. And that I wanted to make sure that I had an opportunity to say, this is what we know Green Market Reports is all about. Your finances, your business, the economics of it all. That's what's gonna have us poised to be successful in this cannabis industry as it rolls out. We also know that being a women-led business is also challenging. It doesn't matter what market you're in. There are a host of challenges. We don't have to run through the litany of reasoning behind those challenges, but we know that they exist. And events like today help us to get poised so that we know how to tackle those challenges because it's real. And we also have another challenge in this space, which is sort of similar to what we see in maybe construction. It's a male-dominated narrative. So we've got to do the work to challenge the normal course of business obstacles that exist to help change the narrative. And I guess the question is, how do we change a narrative that everyone is so comfortable with? It's not that it's right, it's not that it's accurate, it's just that it's comfortable. And when we've got to move people out of those comfortable spaces, how do we do it and what's next for us? Well, I want to say none of these industries that we normally think of as male-dominated exist without women. And cannabis does not exist without women. We are integral, and we are going to make sure that everyone knows that we are not just participating, but we're indispensable. Women are going to be, that's right, we're going to be indispensable. We are already operating as CEOs. We just spoke to one today, didn't we? And we also know that while it might not be the job for everyone, there's room for more of us at that table. We're owners, we're creatives, we're innovators. We're all of these things and we're indispensable to the market because we bring a perspective that's really necessary and we find solutions that others overlook. It might be in the DNA, it might be how we're built, it might be because of the lens through which we see things and how we normally tackle problems, but that's who we are and that's what we're going to bring to this industry here in New York. So what I wanted to share with you for one second was a quick story about who I am and some of the ways that I got here, because it's been a myriad of paths that I've been wandering on and meandering, and it's gotten me here today. But one of them was that shortly after college, or I should say after law school, I returned to New York, Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn, and I realized that there were some things missing that I wanted in my neighborhood. So after years of trying to figure out how do I make this happen, writing a business plan, talking to other owners, figuring out if I could actually launch a business and sort of change the landscape, I finally did it with the help of lots of people who positioned me, who pipelined me, who fed into me, and who helped me to navigate the spaces that I needed to navigate. But they allowed me to prepare myself to open a coffee shop, which I know people thinking not exactly the same thing as a cannabis market, but since we just had the conversation about how tough retail is, it's on point. And it also reminds us that there's a lot of ways in which we contribute and we help to change the landscape. What I thought was missing in my neighborhood was a communal space where people could sit down. I don't know if this was about 20-some years ago that I got out of school and I came home and I was looking for a place to sit down with my drink. And it didn't exist. And so what was missing in the landscape? What is it that I needed to change? And how was I going to get there? So over the years, I was able to locate a location. Ended up that no one wanted to rent to me, and they took so damn long to give me a lease that I ended up buying a place. And then, right, so lo and behold, thank God, right? And then I operated a business for about 15 years where I hired people, and I kept reinventing myself because I opened in '07. The market crashed in '09, businesses closed, people lost their homes, people moved out of the neighborhood. By 2010 to 2012, an entirely different demographic lived in my neighborhood than I thought that I was opening my store to serve. So I had to reinvent, find solutions, and figure out how do we continue to move forward. So long and short of it is, I couldn't do it by myself. I kept welcoming new neighbors that were opening small businesses, many of whom did not last. I think I saw 3 rounds of businesses open and close their doors in the 15 years that I operated. But we stood fast, we stood together, and we collaborated. And what we collaborated to build was a merchants association, to create a scene, to create a vibe, to create an experience in that community that did not exist when I moved onto the block, and it was me, my weed spot, and a corner store. And now it's something different. And it's now an experience, and now it's a destination. But it took the vision of a woman to bring something that didn't exist, and to bring other people together and say, this is the experience that I want. And surprisingly enough, it was the experience that other people desired. It was something that no one else had stepped out to do, but that we were able to get accomplished. And so I don't know if any of you have ever been to Tompkins Avenue in Bedford-Stuyvesant. There you go. I want to say you're welcome. But more importantly, I want to say that's my challenge to you today. Because cannabis is like what Tompkins was in 1999 when I came home from school. Cannabis is got some business. A lot of it is illicit. But cannabis needs more voices from women, and we need you to change the landscape. And we know that you can do it because you have the skills there. We know that you can do it because today we spend time pipelining women and giving them the information that they needed so that they can create solutions. We know that you can do it because you're indispensable. So, I just want to make sure that everybody here knows that we're not just coming together so I can say how great you are. You are. You look fabulous. I'm glad that I got to spend some time with you, and that I'm here to be a part of this celebration. But more importantly, I'm here to challenge you. Because you came today not because you needed to have a nice lunch, or because you thought I was going to be wearing a cute shirt, but I thought I was too. But really because we know that this is the moment where we're going to shift the landscape. We're going to create a space that people are going to be talking about, and that they're going to say, that New York State, they created the new experience, they created the new opportunities, and they created it in a system where people have access and opportunity. In a way where we believe that we have the opportunity to build a framework, it's going to take you to identify those gaps. And then we're going to need you to create those solutions, to develop and design the products, create those products. And I'm still making sure that we keep focused. I still remain focused to challenge you to pipeline women to follow you. Make sure that you are creating spaces for them so that they too can join you in this arena. So, the female's presence, it means that we're gonna have success. I promise you, that's what it means. That's from New York City. I'm looking forward to what the offerings look like that are being produced by women. Because I tell you, I'm encouraged every time I walk into CBD stores throughout our communities, and I see the way women have designed the stores. It is a completely different experience when a woman creates the space. It is a different lineup of products that are being created so that you can carry your products, so that you can prep them, so that you can use them in different ways. It is an entire conversation in our community about how we bring it into our food if you talk to women and mothers than it is if we're just talking strictly to male entrepreneurs. So we need to make sure those voices don't get lost and that they have a space. and that we make sure that we continue to encourage one another, because I'm gonna tell you, we spend money and we're looking for ways to spend our money, and all these folks, I'm gonna tell you, that we just had the economic reports. Sales are up. Are we buying your stuff? Sales are up. Have they seen your product? Online sales are, we're just swimming in money in that space. We want to make sure that your site is popping up when someone's looking for the next thing that they want to purchase. But all of that happens when we build together. So the question is, what are we really ready to do? You don't have to wait for the regulations. Many of the women businesses that I see operating are doing work and producing products that don't need any licensing. They're doing products, they're creating products and experiences that don't need to wait for a license or a regulation to be done. They're things that are being fed right now. They're building communities right now. They're using CBD products to touch people at this moment. So what are we really about to do? I can tell you, we're gonna take a moment and think back again, Tompkins Avenue. During the news coverage during COVID, NBC and CNN suddenly started to call that strip of land Black Girl Magic Way, because it had become a space 20 years later where there are more Black women-owned businesses, sorry about that, in that community than in any other space that they could find in New York City. How are we going to create that kind of landscape in cannabis? What are we doing so that when people look at the New York market, they're going to say, dang, how do they have so many women-led businesses? Or what is going on in the experience? Or why are women spending so much money with New York-based businesses? Why is everybody mimicking those brands that are coming out of New York State? What are we really about to do? When I closed my store, because I can't operate a coffee shop and be here with everybody today, so I had to close the door. It took me over a year to find what the next thing was that should occupy that space. And the reason it took time is because it had to be deliberate. Just because I don't occupy the space doesn't mean that another woman shouldn't. And actually, I'm very proud to say that a woman does occupy my space, and they created a business and a brand that I'm extremely proud of. And not only did I become the person renting them space, but I was their customer before they arrived on Tompkins. So those are the ways we continue to pipeline other businesses in. Whose business, whose products are you carrying? Who are you collaborating with? Where do you plan to get your raw products? Who are you working with to spread the news about your business? Because those very same people might be the ones that help to open the door so that you're the next iteration and you are the business that's going to be operating in what might be, New York's cannabis space that is suddenly being referred to by CNN and NBC and other outlets as the magical place for women-owned businesses and female-led enterprises. Who are we helping so that they're at the table for the conversation about who's going to be the next CEO or who's going to take their business public? Yeah. Right, that's what I'm talking about, because that's what we need to be thinking on, and that's what we need to be thinking about. We need to know that all of these things are within our reach. It is women-led, it is women-centric, it is women spending money. We need to make sure that the leadership at the top and the vision and the experience supports who we are and reflects the experiences we want to have. I'm extremely happy when I know that I can go out my door and find a place to sit down and have a coffee these days. But it's even more important that we know that we've transformed the landscape, that it's suddenly something different than it was 20 years ago. That no one looks out their window and sees the same vision, and that now because someone else was daring to dream, that they look out the door and they imagine what's next for them too. So you all here today, we're sitting together to figure out what our next is, and I promise you, there's 8 more rooms of women looking at you and watching what you do, because they want to be able to follow in your footsteps to say, I can do it too. So today, I'm glad to be a part of this. I'm excited to hear and see what is going to come out of the women of New York State. in this cannabis space. And more importantly, once I stop working in this position, I can't wait to be your customer.